Today we shall do more fisting, but this time crimson. That's right folks, this week we're going to be looking at the Crimson Fists, a chapter who in my opinion are often pretty overlooked to be honest. I think it's an excellent colour scheme and it's a really nice, interesting opportunity to paint with some primaries and just kind of do some little posh stuff on the details. So I've demonstrated this for you with a Phobos Lieutenant and it's a miniature I happen to really love. It is a little break from Indomitus but I think it's going to be worth it, so join me and let's take a look at that. Okay, so you can see I've done some pre-painting here. All this is just a little bit of airbrush work to place in some highlights mostly and get a base coat on. You could build this up with a brush if you don't own an airbrush, but I've used Kantor Blue and Caledor Sky here. Like I say, if you want to build this up manually, not a problem at all. I just like the smoothness of the airbrush. And I'm now going to an extent, destroy some of that with some Drakenhof Nightshade, just getting it all over the entire miniature. I kind of want that sort of matting effect of the Drakenhof. You can see it here, it's very effective, just giving that kind of sleek night warrior look. We're going to go into some black next. Pick a black, any black, whichever one you prefer, and we're basically just going to deal with sort of the soft parts of the armour and black out anything that's going to be black, anything that's going to be metallic, anything that's going to be brown. A lot of the miniature is now going to get blacked out. There you go. So you can see we've covered quite a few areas with some black paint here. And that sets us up nicely to continue with the rest of our workups. So back into the Holy Trinity, Kantor Blue, Caledor Sky, Hoeth Blue. This is what's going to do most of the blue work on this entire miniature. And we're just going to start glazing in some sort of brighter highlights into those areas that are already highlighted by the airbrush. This is one of the advantages of using the airbrush first, is just that it sort of does half of this for you so you don't have to glaze it all. And obviously if you want to get some smoothness going on in there, then you are going to need to probably glaze it, unless you're a very good wet blender. But as you can see, once we start to build up a few layers of highlights onto that blue, it's looking nice, but we want to start adding some white into the mix now. So we'll start just picking out some pinpoint highlights here, first of all with Hoeth Blue with a bit of white added to it. And you can see we're very small here, really on the tips, and then some pure white on its own. Dink, 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 a few little dots of reflection here and there. Beautiful! That's some nice power armour, I think. Okay, for our next mission, we're going to grab some Mournfang Brown. We're going to start picking some of the leather work on this. I don't want to do all the leather work in brown, but we're going to start picking out some of it. And we're going to just take a little tour around and fill it in with some Mournfang Brown. There you go, that's how much of it I chose to do. Then we'll grab some Agrax Earthshade to shade that down with. Blip, blop, blip. Agrax goes burr. Nice and easy. And then some Zandri Dust to highlight with. And we'll start out with this mixed into the Mournfang. And then after we've sort of established some highlights, then we'll do some little plinky bright spots using just the Zandri on its own. So here's the sort of 50-50-ish mix, and then here's the pure Zandri. Lovely jubbly. And that's how we're looking with the leather highlighted. And today's lunch break is brought to you by very thickly spread peanut butter on toast, which was delicious. It's important to stop and eat when you're working on these extended pieces. Okay, so you've seen this black workup before. You've seen it on the Ghost Keel and on the Judicia that have both been posted recently on the channel. But it's the bright turquoise and dragon white build up. Done it exactly the same way as you've seen me do it previously. But I just think, you know, this was a nice opportunity to do it on some smaller little detailed areas and kind of incorporate some of those ideas from the Ghost Keel video where we used this type of highlighting to create texture and visual interest. And you can see as I'm building it up here, still very much in that same principle of, you know, being quite bitty, quite choppy, quite dotty, not really trying to be super smooth. But the result that we get in the end still looks nicely blended, just due to the number of layers that we use essentially. Okay, so So that's how our black looks once it's all highlighted up. I love this workup. Let's very quickly blast through some metallics next. Dark aluminium and Nuln oil for all the silver metallics. Again, you've seen this a million times because it is a staple of the channel. It is kind of my go-to workup for silvers. So we'll just lather on some dark aluminium everywhere that we need silver. Squirt some Nuln oil over that. Bish bash bosh. And then I don't always do this, but I will come back in just to do a little bit of edge highlighting here and there with some dark aluminium, just to pull back up some of those edges, get some nice brightness. Runelord Brass and Agrax Earthshade are going to form the rest of our metallics for this piece. Of course, you could go for a gold or a copper. It's kind of completely up to you, but I decided that, seeing as I'm so in love with Runelord Brass at the moment, this was another good excuse to break it out. Okay, so I've got a few red details around the miniature, and these are the 4 reds I want to use, or reds and oranges. Khorne, Evil Sunz, Wild Rider and Squig. And I'm just going to start working up all of the different red areas. His Crimson Fist for a start, that's obviously got to be painted in red, and I've got a bunch of sort of lenses and stuff that I decided I wanted to do in red. You can see me starting to add in the Wild Rider now. And just continuing to build these highlights up. As we get brighter, we're getting finer. It's the same principle that we use for the rest of the highlighting. Okay, so here's another update of where we're at overall. You're starting to kind of see what this is going to look like finished now. It's really starting to take shape at this point. So we'll blast through a few more things. Rakarth Flesh and Reikland Fleshshade, just to get that little bit of flesh tone done. This is going to be very quick, so just base coat with the Rakarth. Shade with the Reikland. Come back in with some Rakarth for a few highlights. And then mix some white into that just to dot a few super highlights in. Really simple. Another quick bit is just getting some grey highlights into his hair. The hair just sort of runs between the strap on the top of his headpiece. So we're just sort of dotting some greys there to kind of get all of that working. And this is going to be sort of coming to a conclusion now as we put these final highlights into the hair. So there you have it, one sneaky beaky Phobos Lieutenant painted as a Crimson Fist. Now hopefully this sneaky boy can stop sneaking his way around my room and we can get him off to his new owner very, very soon. But I hope you enjoy the way we painted him and you found this tutorial useful. In the meantime, if you did like the video, please feel free to hit that like button. If you like what I'm doing over here in general and want to see more, then please do remember to subscribe, because of course that helps me get seen. And if you really want to support the channel, we do have a Patreon campaign, which is linked in the description along with all my social media, which you can go and check out with tiers starting from as little as $1 a month if that's something that interests you and you want to help keep me making these videos. Well then folks, that's all from me for now, but I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.